Hey guys, Brian Stevens here over at Mortgage Shots and the National Real Estate Post. Hey, listen, we are looking for a couple of sponsors over here. So if you are a mortgage company and you're looking to get your message out to loan officers and mortgage companies alike, feel free to reach out to us. Of course, my phone number is right here, Brian Stevens at 707-330-1272. Listen, the market is changing right before our eyes. It's kind of cool. And we want you to be a part of what we've been doing over here for the past 20 years, the longest running video blog in the mortgage or real estate space in the entire country. So today we have a ton of stuff that we're going to be talking about that should be helping your business as a loan officer and or real estate agent. Remember, we have to read the tea leaves of the market to understand how we navigate some of these turbulent waters. So let's jump right into this today. And I hope, again, we're here on Tuesday. Let's make it a great week. Let's go 5 for 5. Let's not be like the Mariners a couple of days ago. Yikes. Okay, jumping right into this. So yesterday we had a message, and the message was pretty simple. It was unsuccessful people, they hold their failures on their head. Successful people, they use their failures to go ahead and improve their situation. In short, in order to succeed in sales, we need to fail up. Does that make sense? Well, we have a new message for you today, and we're going to build on this, an inspirational message to keep you guys going with your business. Here it is. Crackheads don't let being broke stop them from getting high. So what's your excuse? Are you tired? Are you busy? Are you broke? Outwork your excuses before they bury you. I know it's silly, it's kind of funny, and of course there's a little tongue-in-cheek in this, but there is a little bit of truth to it. And what it really comes down to is desperation. You know, desperation is an incredible motivator. So, learn from somebody else's mistake. Don't learn from your mistake. Go ahead and get the work done today before desperation jumps in. Because last time I checked, it's a holiday season, right? We have Halloween, Thanksgiving, and the big whopper Christmas. Are your kids going to have a good Christmas? Your actions today are going to predicate what your holiday season looks like. So let's go out there and find deals. And by the way, there are deals abundant out there. All right, so the first one here is there's a legal storm that's hitting Zillow. There's 4 major lawsuits that are going against Zillow. One, we have the FTC. Their suit alleges Zillow paid Redfin $100 million to suppress competition and rental advertising. Now, that doesn't sound like the best friend of people who want to buy homes or rent homes, does it? It sounds like somebody who is, I don't know, out for profit. And I've got a couple of thoughts on this I want to share you just after we go through this. Class action lawsuit filed against Zillow over Flex referral program and hidden agent fees. The third one down there is CoStar sues Zillow for massive copyright infringement, seeking over $1 billion in damages. And of course, the last one is Compass filed an antitrust lawsuit against Zillow over Zillow ban on private listings. Here's the whole deal. Now, if you're a consumer watching this right now, or a real estate agent, it doesn't really matter, or a lender, it doesn't really matter. I want you to think about this. Zillow is a publicly traded company. Zillow, the CEO of Zillow, he has a fiduciary, which is a legal and moral obligation to the board, to the shareholders. In other words, they need to put the shareholders' needs and desires above their own. Now, the shareholders aren't going over there saying, hey, listen, I want you to be the most ethical nonprofit on the face of the planet. No, they are a for-profit company, and everybody who's invested in Zillow expects a maximum return on their investment, meaning the fiduciary for Zillow is to those shareholders to make them as much money as possible. Now, where is Zillow going to make their money? They're going to make it off the back of your clients, your buyers, your sellers, you renters. That's where they're making their money. And also from agents with their premier agent. Do you think that Zillow paid Redfin $100 million to suppress competition because they care about consumers? Frankly, that flies in the face of it. A real estate agent has a fiduciary to their client. Zillow has a fiduciary to their shareholders, which puts them at odds with their clients. In other words, they need to milk the clients for as much money as humanly possible. Which one do you want to be? Now, if you're a consumer, if you're a real estate agent, actually, if you're thinking about buying a house, do you want somebody who has a legal and moral obligation to have your back? Or do you want somebody who has a legal and moral obligation to screw you over? Because that's exactly what Zillow has. Further, when you work with a local real estate agent, the money on those commissions, which by the way is cheaper than a lot of the alternatives out there, when you work with a local real estate agent and lender, that money gets recirculated back into your community because that realtor and lender, they're going to get their nails done. They're going to go to the gym. They're going to go out to eat. They're going to get lunch. They're going to get coffee. They're going to change the tires on their car, all of that stuff. When you work with one of these big box aggregators, one of these, AI-based type of fintech real estate companies as Zillow is, that money goes back up to Seattle. So if you're in Oklahoma City, if you're in Bismarck, North Dakota, if you're in Austin, Texas, if you're in San Diego, it doesn't matter. But a lot of cities right now are suffering the consequences of a slow economy. You can ill afford to have money strip mined from your community because when you don't real estate local and when you don't lend local, the money that is created from that transaction is going to be strip mined out of your community, and it's going to go to shareholders who do not live where you live. Think about your favorite restaurant right now. Think about your favorite coffee shop. Think about that person who does your hair, who does your nails. Do you like them? Well, if you like them, then you should real estate local and you should lend local. And by the way, you'll get a better deal, and you're going to get a better rate. The fees are going to be less, and they will be less, by the way. And you'll make more money on your property, and you'll be supporting your community in the entire process. Isn't it odd when you kind of put it that way? There's a reason why Zillow is facing 4 lawsuits, and they don't care because they are worth billions of dollars right now. That's why when I see these type of ads from Zillow, I find this crazy. But it does kind of look cool, doesn't it? You've got Zillow and your amazing agent and you, the first-time homebuyer, being supported, laughing, having a great time thanks to Zillow. Really? Here's what's going on with Zillow right now. 4 lawsuits that they're facing. Here's how they're portraying themselves. Don't be duped. If you're going to buy local, eat local, real estate local as well, because it will benefit you. Now, and I'll tell you this right now. The U.S. Supreme Court has declined to review an antitrust lawsuit against Zillow. Why is that? How in the hell is Zillow getting out of... Zillow is the only real estate broker who was not named in that Missouri case. They were a real estate broker. See, here's what Zillow did. They used to work with a company called ListHub. ListHub was owned by Realtor.com. They were an aggregator of real estate listings. I know this because when I was working with and designing Listing Booster, we also had a ListHub account. We had the exact same feed as Zillow, and it cost thousands of dollars. Well, when Realtor.com was sold off to Rupert Murdoch and his friends, Zillow knew their days were numbered. And what they did is a massive pivot at that time. And they decided that they were going to become a real estate broker. And they got licenses in every state. They infiltrated every multiple listing system. And all of you multiple listing systems, just let them do it. What in the hell is wrong with you? They're your enemy. They are working against you. So they became, and by the way, a lot of these multiple listing systems and a lot of these local boards, by the way, they became members of the boards. I was actually talking about this at a board meeting in San Ramon, California, and somebody said, you're not allowed to speak ill of any other member of our board, any other brokers, and Zillow was a member of the board. I was getting reprimanded for pointing out what Zillow was actually doing. Not only did you allow them to infiltrate your local associations, but then you worked in concert with them either willingly or unknowingly or unwillingly, but you did work with them to benefit Zillow. And what did they do after they became a member of every board across the country? They did that because they were going to lose access to all of your listings because they were not going to have their ListHub account because Rupert Murdoch and the boys weren't going to let that one happen. So they had to go directly to the source, and you let them in. You guys just let them in. Now, what they did after that is they decided to become a real estate brokerage and compete against you. Not only are you the premier agent where you're giving them an outrageous and exorbitant amount of your commissions, but they're also working against you. They were getting listings. They're a lender. They want to be a one-stop shop for absolutely everything. And the reason why Zillow's getting away with this is because they're worth billions of dollars. And just like every major corporation, they can go out there and get the best lawyers, the best teams on the face of the planet, and they can litigate and argue this stuff until they're blue in the eyes. So what you need to do, again, this is just a reminder. You need to real estate local, you need to lend local. And realtors, and lenders out there, you should be sharing this message with your consumers. By the way, you will get a better deal from me. You will get a lower rate. You will get better service. And I am in choking distance right now. And I will, most importantly, support our community and support our local businesses, because what happens when you work with me, you get a better deal, but also that money gets recirculated back into our community. One works for you, one works against you. One costs more, one costs less. One is trying to be true. One is tenaciously misleading, allegedly, at least by my estimation. Who do you want to work with? It really becomes simple when you look at this thing more closely. All right, moving on. Annual U.S. single family builds to rent deliveries. To rent deliveries. Now, this is really interesting. Brand new homes that are being built as rentals. That's kind of odd, isn't it? Well, I told you a couple of days ago, and we brought it up again yesterday, that Lennar has had a 25% drop in their prices since 2022. All the gains they made in the previous year, they've had to give those back since 2022 across the board. And you might be in a pocket where property values are still going up. But if you look at the entire nation and all the builds out there, Lennar is now 25% down on the price they're charging for the properties that they're building. Why is this important? Well, they're not finding the profits that they need there. And so what this is really kind of symptomatic of a bigger problem, isn't it? They can't get people to buy these houses at these prices. Again, the market is set for rates in the 2s, and we're in rates in the 5s and 6s right now. So people simply cannot afford to buy these houses. So what are they doing? Just like Zillow, new home builders, they're making a pivot right now, and they're building homes for rental purposes. And look at the numbers. Back in 2015, we only had 3.8 thousand. Today, we're at 24,000. That's crazy. That's 8 times higher than what it was just a few short years ago. And at its peak, which was just last year, we had 42,000, 40,000, 27,000. And of course, in 2027, we expect 24,800. These numbers are crazy. The reason the numbers are going to come down that you're seeing over on your far right-hand side is as property values continue to drop, we're going to see affordability in the purchase market, and we're going to start seeing less affordability in the rental market. However, it is worth pointing out, as I brought up yesterday, when we're building more houses for rent, it's driving rents down. It's going to drive more first-time home buyers. More first-time home buyers, right? See that first-time home buyer that Zillow's so proud of right there? It's going to drive these first-time home buyers into the rental market, and it's going to force our existing inventory to go ahead and lower their property values. And now that Lennar has dropped their values by 25%, or yeah, 25%, you're going to see all the other ones out there. Again, the Cinos and the Pultes of the world, they're going to be doing this as well. But it's interesting to see that new home builders are actually shooting themselves in the foot by building homes which will ultimately continue to drive down their purchase market deliveries. It's kind of crazy, but this is what happens in desperate times. Again, crackheads don't let being broke stop them from getting high. So what's your excuse? Right now, Lennar, the new home builders, they don't have an excuse. They are simply changing their business model. And as I told you, what we do over here at the Loan Factory and what I do on my team, CB Loans. And by the way, if you want to be a part of our team, just reach out to me. Here's my phone number. Just go ahead and give me a buzz or send me a text, and I'll call you back, and we can have a very discreet conversation about joining our team. But what they're doing is what we need to do, what you need to do, which is reading the tea leaves of the market and making the appropriate pivots in order to be successful even in hard times. Okay, this is kind of an interesting graph here. So the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 6.23%. By the way, we're lower than that. The average 5/1 ARM is at 5.7%. Now, in years past, we haven't really used a whole bunch of ARMs because you can notice back in October and December, you see these numbers on your left-hand side. Now, your blue line is your 30-year fixed. Your gray line is your 5/1 ARM. You notice how close they are, meaning, you know, your rate for a 5/1 ARM is going to be about the same as a 30-year fixed rate loan. So you're not going to do that. You're going to take the security of a 30-year fixed because there's no benefit in a 5/1 ARM. By the way, a 5/1 ARM is an absolutely fantastic deal. You're going to get a lower start rate. It can only adjust by 1% per year, and it can only go 5% over the cap rate. So if you start at 5, the highest you can go is 8, and the most you can go up in any given year is going to be 1%. Now, it hasn't been terribly competitive in the past. February and March, of course, see how the gray line drops down there right in the middle? Then we saw this spike over here. But the difference, look at the difference between the 5/1 ARM and the 30-year fixed. There's a massive difference right now. On your 5-1 arm, you're going to be right around, based on this graph. Again, if you come with us over at the Loan Factory and on my team, we have better rates than even other brokers out there. Okay, so we'd be sitting at about 5.75%, and on your 30-year fixed rate loan, you'd be looking at 6.25%. So there is a pretty significant difference there. And because your average person is going to stay in their loan for, 7 years somewhere, it's a little bit longer right now as people are staying in their homes because they got those golden handcuffs from the 2% interest rates. But right now, there's a lot of security in your 5-1 arm, and what it's going to do is bring affordability and bring some of those first-time home buyers back to the table. But you as a loan officer, you have to be able to have this conversation intelligently. And intelligence is not being able to speak over somebody. Intelligently is being able to take a complex scenario and explaining it in a way that anybody can understand. So wrap your mind around your arms right now, because they're pretty darn good options. I thought this was interesting. I only put this in here because it made me scratch my head for a minute. If people can't afford to buy houses now, do we really expect home values to go up? This is a big one right now. This is huge. Again, a couple of days we talked about. In 1960, 52% of people who were 30 years or older and married owned homes. Today, that number is 12%. We simply have priced everybody out of the market outside of the upper middle class. And frankly, even the upper middle class right now, they're having a hard time affording some of these properties. So the question then becomes, how do property values continue to go up if we can't afford to buy houses now? And the answer is they simply can't. Think about that statement. They simply cannot go up because there's nobody there to support those values. There's no pillars. There's no opportunities. They cannot go up. Who's going to buy these properties? I'm going to show you something in a moment that will explain where and why we're at right now, which will probably madden you. So just give me a second. We're going to get to that. But as it stands right now with the status quo and some of the changes that have been made are going to continue to put pressure on property values to go down. Again, we're seeing this right now with unaffordability. We're seeing this right now with our lack of inventory. We're seeing this with properties not moving as much as they have in the past. There's a lot, and we're seeing this with these inflated values that people can't afford. Property values really at this point can only go in one direction, because if we can't afford today, what in the hell are we going to do tomorrow? In short, I looked at this and I said, oh my God, this one's easy to see. You have some of these prognosticators out there who are talking about property values continuing to go up. How are they going to go up? Nobody can afford anything right now. I mean, maybe I can go buy a house in Buffalo, or maybe I can buy a house in Indianapolis or, one of these places. But the truth of the matter is when you look at every area, the people who live in these communities are maxed out. And until people start coming off values, and we're starting to see people come off values, just understand this: property values can only go in one direction. New home builders are building homes for rent in droves right now. In droves right now. This graph you're looking at, guys, this reeks of desperation. And this is precisely the reason what the new home builders are doing and what we're seeing take place right now is exactly why this statement rings so incredibly true to me. Property values are coming down, guys, even more. I brought this up a couple of years ago that we were going to see a 25% haircut. Lo and behold, Lennar has done it. I'm telling you right now, we're going to see another 25%. Okay, here's one of the reasons why we have unaffordability in the housing market is we have been giving loans, FHA loans to H-1B visa holders, and that's been making housing unaffordable. Why is this? Well, the H-1B visa holders that we're bringing in from other countries, these are people who are taking high salaried tech type of jobs. That's who's taking these visas. So somebody's coming in making a couple $100,000 a year, and they can certainly go ahead and afford to buy a house. In short, native folks who've lived in this country are finding it hard to buy these houses. Their jobs are getting replaced by people who have H-1B visas. They're getting the high salary jobs, and what's happening is they're the ones who are buying houses, and we're the ones who are facilitating this, which is leaving it's leaving American citizens on the outside looking in. Now, frankly, I don't even mind this. I think this is such a small problem. But there's been changes that have been made to this. Do you know right now that FHA is no longer allowed to offer H-1B visas? And look at what has taken place over the past couple of months on your far right-hand side. These FHA loans that have been going out to visa holders, they've just fallen off a cliff. Why? Because FHA simply isn't allowed to do this anymore. Again, this doesn't, I think this is a relatively small issue. I think the only point I want to make here is that we should be looking at U.S. citizens first to go ahead and purchase homes. We should not be putting people ahead of U.S. citizens. That's all I'm saying. Don't read anything into it. That simply is what I'm thinking. Now, I also know that we need to get more tech-savvy folks in here, and I know that we need to import workers, and I know that this is wildly, wildly important. And maybe this is the wrong move by the administration, but can't we do something alongside what's taking on with the H-1B visa holders to help U.S. citizens? That simply is my point. So again, do not read too much into that. But how do you feel about this? Does it get under your skin? Are you okay with it? Do you think this was the right move to take the H-1B visa holders and put them on the outside looking in when it comes to FHA loans? And put your thoughts and comments down below. Let me know what you think. And because I don't think there's really any right or wrong answer to this question, and I'd be very interested to see what you guys have to say about it. Getting back to our builders. Builders' months of supply versus unemployment. Okay, so months of supply and unemployment. When unemployment goes down, our months of supply should also go down, as we see over here back in close to 1968. Okay, you see how it goes down to 4.8%. These drops kind of parallel each other, and when they go up, these numbers should be kind of mirroring each other. They should be going in the same direction, not opposite directions. That's why look over here. We have 8.9 months of supply right now versus 4.2% unemployment. When we have low unemployment, we should have low months of inventory. That means people are working. People can buy houses, right? When unemployment goes up, months of supply should also go up, as we see back here in 2006, 7, and 8 during the Great Recession. We saw unemployment go up to 9.6. We saw months of supply go up to 10.7. These numbers should always be tracking each other. When they don't track each other, as they have pretty much since 1962 or 63, they pretty much track each other all along the way, except for what mark. By the way, even during the Great Recession, they were tracking each other. Our months of supply and our unemployment, they mirrored each other. But look at where we're at now. Look at this chasm. 8.9 months of supply, some of the highest amounts of supply that we've had in decades, and our unemployment is super low. This chasm right here tells you there is something dreadfully wrong with the real estate market. What is that dreadfully wrong issue that we're talking about? It's exactly what this whole show is about. Affordability. People have jobs, they just can't buy homes. Which brings me back to the statement that I said before. If we can't afford houses now, with 4.2% unemployment and over 8 months supply, the highest we've seen in a long time, do we really expect values to go up? No. What's going to happen are these numbers are going to start to get more in line. Those months of supply, they should be coming down. As they come down, prices should be coming down. That's what's going to drive our months of supply down. Again, this is another indicator of the direction this market is going. Does that make sense to you? It is a veritable impossibility to sustain what we have going on right now in real estate. It is wildly, wildly out of whack. Something what we're seeing right now, if you're looking at this graph and we're going to compare unemployment versus builders' months of supply, we haven't seen the market this out of whack since at least 1962. Say, let's just call it 1960. And who knows how far this would go back if we had a graph that was tracking this stuff even longer. In fact, one can make an argument, and I bet you could, that we have never seen a market that's this dysfunctional. Even back in 2008, 2009, and 2010, there was a logic that went behind everything. But when we had the Great American Giveaway, we've created a problem right now that nobody seems to have an answer to. That's why looking at our arms, getting out of your box, working with some of those self-employed folks who on average make nearly twice as much as a W-2 employee, working with those gig workers, working on non-QM loans, which right now have rates that are basically on par with your agency Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie loans, your conforming loans, your VA, and your FHA loans. So you For your own personal sustainability as a mortgage lender or real estate agent, you need to find solutions to some of these problems, because this little thing over here on the right in this massive chasm that we have never seen before, this right here, this graph denotes a problem that is much bigger and not solvable in the immediate future. However, we are definitely, my friends, definitely going in the right direction. Because remember, here's an advertisement from Lennar. Investor-ready homes built by Lennar. Those massive numbers that we're seeing. And oh, by the way, what are they promoting at the top of this? This is Lennar's page. What are they promoting? They're promoting a 7/6 arm. Do you know that 5/1 arm that I was just promoting to you? Do you know that 5/1 arm is infinitely better than that 7/6 arm? Well, hold on a second, Brian. This one's going to be fixed for 7 years. Yours is only going to be fixed for 5 years. Yeah, but you see that 6 there? That 6 is your problem. I'm saying a 5/1 arm. And that 1 is more important to me than that 5, because that 6 that you're looking at there, this, my friends, is a recipe for disaster. But this is what they're promoting because they have a 4.99 start rate. Boy, doesn't that sound fantastic. No, it's not. Again, Lennar, just like Zillow, a publicly traded company, they are not out there to give you the most affordable house on the market. They are out there to maximize their profitability because they have their fiduciary, their legal and moral obligation to their shareholders, just like Zillow does. Again, when we stay local, we do better. And oh, by the way, if you're a consumer and you're watching this right now and you're thinking about buying a new home, do yourself a favor. Demand from the new home builder that you're going to work with your local lender. Do not use their in-house lender. Use your local lender. That in-house lender is in-house because they are paying these builders, or they are fully or partially owned by these builders, and they're going to go there because they have an audience, an exclusive audience where you're not going to look anywhere else because they won't let you. And when they've got you, they're going to put you over a barrel. Sorry. Demand that you work with your local lender. Demand that you work with the person that you want to work with, because Lennar has way too many homes that they're trying to sell. They've already taken a 25% haircut on the prices of their properties, and they are desperate to move these things. And they will let your local lenders back into the game. This is how this whole thing always works. When the market is jamming, what they're going to do is say, you have to work with my lender if you want to buy the house. If you're not going to work with my lender, then you're not going to get the house because I got 10 people who want to buy this house. Remember people sleeping outside waiting to get these new homes? I saw that out here in like San Ramon and Pleasanton and areas in Northern California. People were actually pitching tents to go out there and get homes. Yeah, when you do that, these new home builders, they can dictate terms to you. But right now, they can't dictate terms to anybody. And as a realtor and lender, go out there and talk with your clients about this. Go tell them, say, hey, listen, if you're going to look at buying a new home, demand that you work with me, and demand that you get the concessions even if you do work with me, because moving that house right now is way more important. And demanding that you work with your local lender, that dog don't hunt anymore, my friends. Because remember, Lennar right now, they're building homes to rent, and they don't want to do this. So remember, what we said yesterday is fail up. Go out there and take a chance on a marketing tool. Go out there, call your past database. Go knock on doors. Do what you need to do. Get outside of your comfort zone. Go ahead and fail and laugh at it. Don't let your failures hold you down. Use your failures as building blocks. And again, right now, over on the left-hand side, today's great quote, don't let a crackhead outwork you. In other words, you don't have the excuses to not succeed. So go out there and succeed. Today's going to be a great day. This is going to be a great week. And reach out to me if you want to talk to me about what's going on with my team. And of course, share, like, and put your comments down below and let me know what you're thinking. With that said, my friends, you all make it a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to talk to you soon. Bye.